Welcome to today's webinar presented by Supercoder.com. Supercoder.com is an online coding solution offering Part A and B coding reference tools, resources, and not more than 30 specialty coding and compliance newsletters from the Coding Institute in one site. I hope you enjoy this short session.
And there are authoritative references that I can use for appeals and for collections. So just some insight on why you can use different versions. For those of you that have the Coding Companion, hopefully you also have a CP2 book there with you. Those can be a little bit difficult to use when you're trying to follow some information. You also should have your link for your handout, and it has 40 slides on there, and I did remember to number my slides this time. So I'll be going through the slides and making sure that you're on the right number. So let's start with our handout and look at slide 2 to start off. And it says Beyond the Cath Lab, first of all, on slide 1. This is the title of our session today, but we're going to be in the Cath Lab and then moving out of it and going beyond it into interventions and then some things that kind of surround it but then tie it all together. And there's been some changes as far as strategies on how to use certain codes. Obviously, we had a big overhaul in 2011 when it came to HeartCath, but now we're dealing with edits, we're dealing with CCI issues, Medicare issues, and even as soon as last Friday, I'm sure some of you got the email or heard from an authoritative reference that they're now working on putting Icd-9 on hold, and which basically means for physicians they're going to slow the transition. Instead of having it effective October 2013, it's going to be slowed a little bit. Now, hospitals are not going to have that luxury, but they will have some professional side basically slowing down the process for implementation. Doesn't mean it's going away, so don't get too excited about that. But just be aware and make sure you read all the information that, they have it on Part B News. I've seen it on the APC website. It's on different websites. I have 2 links on my website at terryfletcher.net, so make sure that you are following that so that you know your implementation date. So we first want to start at slide 2, and let's just talk about some of the new Icd-9 codes for 2012. Now remember, I-9 or diagnosis codes become effective on October 1st, and they go through the September for that entire year. It's not January to December like CPT is. So you just want to make sure you're aware of that. Now, Icd-9, do I recommend you get your book? I do. You can get your book, but you can also go to websites and capture that service. Again, I have a link on my website where you can download for free. Remember, the Centers of Disease Control, the World Health Organization that provide these services, and a link also you can get it through Medicare. These are not copyrighted like CPT codes are, so you can get your free, new, revised, and invalid ICD codes. So a couple things you just want to make sure you're taking note of when you look at Icd-9 codes. And we had an update here in coronary atherosclerosis. We had cardiomyopathy updates in the 425 area, some personal history of pulmonary embolism. They added the word basically pulmonary. And then bloodstream infection, they added some complications due to catheters, and then also some respiratory failures. We had an acute respiratory failure, but now they're getting more specific. And you'll see as we transition into I-10, it's going to even get more specific. Some of the codes will attach a gender to it. Some of the codes will be extremely specific. So the specificity of a code is really going to make a huge change when it comes to coverages and things like that. So just be aware of it. But one thing I just want you to make sure you write down, when you're capturing your services for Icd-9 codes, make sure that you know the difference between new, revised, and invalid. And invalid used to be called deleted, but they're no longer called that. So a new code obviously means that there's a new numerical code for that year, so they added a code, or it means that an existing code got another digit. So you may have a code that used to have 3 or 4 digits, and now it became more specific, so they gave it a 5th digit, and they moved it to the new code section. So always be aware that new doesn't necessarily mean new for this year. It means it could have also had another digit added. Now, if you see revised codes means that the narrative description on a diagnosis code was revised, changed, or updated. And usually what you'll see is includes or with or without. A couple of years ago they overhauled all of the hypertension codes, and they basically, included renal disease or with or without, certain other manifestations that are part of that hypertension. And then invalid codes are basically codes that either got another digit and were moved to the new code section.
Supercoder is the fastest growing online reference tool with more than 25,000 subscribers. Call 866-228-9252 to get a free product demo or sign up at supercoder.com for a 7-day free trial.